Oshio, I want you to think about something. As one who's been familiar very personally with paganism, I want to share something with you and give you something to think about, okay? Alright, now, before I go into anything, in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 25, the graven images of their gods shall you burn with fire. You shall not desire the silver or gold that is in them, nor take it to you, lest you be snared therein. For it is an abomination to the Lord your God. Now this is talking about idols, and also there's other areas in throughout Exodus and in Deuteronomy and Numbers and things about idolatry, or the things, the other gods and the paganistic ways of the other nations, the neighbors of Israel. He says that it's an abomination. It's something that's detestable. He says, neither shall you bring an abomination into your house, lest you be a cursed thing like it, but you shall utterly detest it, and you shall utterly abhor, hate, despise. You shall utterly abhor it, for it is a cursed thing, meaning set apart like for destruction. Now remember this, what God hates, you're supposed to hate. Not wink at it, not, oh, well, that was then, that's not now. We're under the blood of Christ. You're not supposed to abuse your freedom in Christ. Paul warned about that. But I want to read in chapter 12, let's see here, chapter 12 of Deuteronomy. Okay, okay, verse 30. Well, let's go up to verse 28, and we'll read down to the end of the chapter of chapter 12. Verse 29 of chapter 12. When the Lord your God shall cut off the nations from before you, where you go to possess them, and you succeed them, and dwell in their land, take heed to yourself that you be not snared. There's that word again, trapped. Be not snared by following them, after that they be destroyed from before you, and that you inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. I want to be like my neighbors. I want to be like them. I want to keep up with the fads. I want to keep up with the fashion, what they're doing, because I don't want to be left out. I don't want to be the oddball out. We have to go along, it's hey, for the family. It's all for the kids. Oh, the excuses ones make, and I'm sure a lot of the Israelites do the same. Let's see, let me go on, it says, let me pick up where I left off on verse 30. How did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. You shall not do so to the Lord your God. For every abomination, every detestable thing to the Lord, which he hates, have they done to their gods, for even their sons and their daughters they have burned in the fire to their gods. What thing soever I command you, observe to do it. You shall not add thereto, nor diminish, that is, to take away from it. Okay, and there's a lot more verses and chapters and things that a person can go through. All right, I want you to give this little thought to you. Okay, just to kind of drive this home. What if I, or someone else, decided, you know, like, well, I'll just use, for instance, what if I brought into your church some of the paganistic worship of the Native Americans, the indigenous peoples of Turtle Island or North America, or any other ones for that matter, of any other country. What if they decided to do this, bring it into their church? Now, mind you, not all of their music is pagan, all right? You know, a lot of people who don't know or a little lacking of understanding usually will label it as that. But I'm talking about bringing it in, you know, the music, you know, the burning the sage and the whole 9 yards to purify oneself, to cleanse himself and everything, and offering food to the spirits and stuff like this. You know, what if I brought all that into the church? What would you say? Or anyone, for that matter of fact, who did that. Well, the smart thing you would do would say, no, we're not having that evil in here. You can take that stuff out. And you would put your foot down on it. Am I not correct? Okay, what if I brought in, let's say, Buddha or Shiva, the gods, the statues, these idols? What if I brought that in to the church, and it's been painted, and painted a little colors, maybe decorated a little bit, and said, you know, hey, you know, this color here represents this of Christ, and you know, and this white over here represents the purity and righteousness of the saints, and you know, and all this. And we can not pray to it, but it can be something that we can focus our prayers to God on. What would you say to that? Right, and you would be right. That stuff has no room in there. Okay. I'm going to step on a few little toes, okay? Now, always find one thing, the truth will always hurt. But if you're honest and love truth, even though it hurts, you will heal. And you'll get over it, just like when the Lord disciplines us. He disciplines us because He loves us. And then afterwards, you know, hey, you know, it's healed, and you look back, and you know, it's like, wow, He did that because He loved me. Like when our parents had disciplined us when we were doing wrong. Okay, we look back at those times, you know, and we kind of laugh about it. I can remember all the times I got my rear dusted real good and stuff for the stupid and bad things I did. And, you know, and I look back at it and it's like, yeah, you know, it was a good thing I got my rear dusted real good. I got disciplined. But it's because my parents loved me, and they did not want me to get into those things that would be destructive to me. And that's the way God is towards us. Now, what would you think about a child that you keep disciplining, and you know, and they just never heal over it. They just keep resenting it, and and then they when they get able to maybe run away from home, or wait till they're older and they get away from home, they don't have nothing to do with you. Well, how does that make you feel? Pretty bad, though you have tried, but maybe you never tried hard enough, or there was something you missed along the way. Now but the thing is with that child is that they resented that. They had a bad seed planted in their heart somewhere. Maybe not have been from you, from someone else, from some other source, should we say, the devil. Okay, but anyway, there are people in churches today that are like that. But here's the thing. Where am I going? What is holy? What is pure? What is truth? Okay. We make excuses today in the church for different things that we do. And and the sad thing, we will use our kids for a lot of the excuses, or we will blame someone else, or it's because of so-and-so, or this one did this, and since they did it, or because they had a big name and they were a big church, they were the elders, and so we're carrying on through with their tradition. Right. Okay. Now, it's funny. Now, I mentioned about all those paganistic stuff, right? And you put your foot down on it. Why is it like come Easter? Now, which is a derivative from Ishtar, which is pagan. God hates this stuff, right? But why do you kind of put it together with the name of the Lord? Easter. Well, that's kind of stemmed a little bit from the Roman Catholic stuff, for their introduction, because they wanted to introduce, to kind of suck in the pagans and all this, and blah, 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 but I'm not going to go on to that history. The thing is, Easter, Ishtar, has no room in the church, on your lips, from, to associate with the resurrection of Jesus. His sweet, sacred, holy name should have nothing to do with paganism, or be associated with something that God hates. Why do you make excuses? Why do you allow them to use that fertility thing with the little Easter eggs and Easter bunnies? And you do this in a church, and you do it all for the fun for the kids. This is like Christmas. You bring in Christmas trees in the church, in the sanctuary. You can disagree with me. That's your prerogative. This stands, and that's what I stand on. It's not about my opinion, all right? The Israelites God got so angry with them, punished them many times, because they would take that paganism stuff and mix it in with their prayers and everything to God, and their sacrifices and stuff. God hated it. Remember the story about Micah, that fella who stole the idols, stole some money, should I say, from his mother. And what happened? Well, he finally felt bad, and he confessed, and then she says, oh, well, I'm going to give this back to you, and we're dedicating it to the Lord. And what did he do? He made them a little idol thing, there. All right, and they even went and got them a priest, a Levite, and stuff. Back then, they were sitting there, you'll read this in Judges, where they were sitting there doing all this. And this went on off and on through Israel, where they were taking the neighbors, the pagan beliefs, and incorporating it. And that's what you're doing. But, you know, but the Christmas tree is so pretty, and the lights and the things all represent this. Then what's wrong with me bringing in Buddha or Shiva? What's wrong with me doing that and just saying, well, you know, this is just represents the holiness of God, and you know, it's just the colors, right? Because it is so pretty. Exactly. You know, you might say, well, you're just going a little too far. Why are you being so burred up for it? Don't you have an honest heart? Don't you have a love for God? It said to love the Lord your God with all your what? Your heart, with all your soul, your life, your mind, your thoughts, your whole being. But you're over here making excuses. But it's for the kids. It's for the kids. It's for the kids. Look, you know, how you honor the birth of Christ, that's different. I mean, each one has different, but why are you using Santa Claus and the Christmas trees and so, and then at that? But the problem is, the big problem is that the churches will drag it into the sanctuary, and they bring in the Easter, and then the harvest festivals. That's pagan, and you're introducing it and trying to cover it up. I'm doing this for the Lord. But I sit there and I've seen where you have these kids dressed up like these characters and stuff that they're out running around on Halloween. Then there's Valentine's Day. Don't you have any thoughts about what you're doing? Now, there's a lot of pagans, ex-pagans should I say, people who have come to the Lord, who have come from faraway countries, and they come over and they see this. Do you know that puzzles them tremendously when they have this knowledge about about God Most High, about Jesus Christ, and what God hates, and yet they see this? You know, this is, hello, some of you out there saying, I got the truth, but yet you're incorporating this stuff, and you're telling these other people that they don't have the truth? Sounds to me like you're in a big pickle. I don't care what kind of PhD. I don't have to have it. Neither do you have to have a PhD and a BHD and a SRS and an IRS and an IHA and what have you. You ain't got to have that for this. Jesus delivered the good news, the gospel and the truth to the poor, not to the great educated and the high and mighty. And it was who? The poor that received it. Why is it that you want to fight against this truth? Why do you get so upset? I have not called one name, and I'm not going to. You yourself will know who you are. If you're upset, ask yourself why. What are you defending? Are you defending Satan? Are you defending the works of the devil? This is what happened to Israel, and this is why a lot of the churches today in America has fallen, and what they have raised up is shambles. Not anything holy to the Lord. They resurrected something dead, so to speak. They had just something dead. Where does any of these things have room for a Christian or in the house of a God, you know, where they worship God? Why are you doing this? He's a holy God, a mighty God, and he hates, he detests evil of every form. And you're bringing it into the church. You're bringing it in to the sanctuary, the place of worship which is sacred, sanctified. Now, that's like what everyone's calling Easter. Why can't you just have Resurrection Sunday and leave the eggs and the bunnies and the chicks and all this other kind of little paganistic stuff? And why don't you just leave that out? And around Christmas, why don't you honor Christ and get the Christmas trees, which, oh, there's a lot of history, and get Santa Claus out and all the other things out, and bring in only Christ. Only Him. You know, if you want to get your kids stuff and have a little day, set it aside for a special day. That's not on those days that are pagan or something, you know, like on Halloween. You know, if you want to have them, well, have a candy thing, or, well, you know, there's always a day that you can set aside for the Christians, you know, for the children. If that's your, you know, you have no excuse. Well, it's over the kids on Halloween, and you ain't got to. There is no excuse. So think about it. So next time you go to point your finger and talk about the pagans, you know, about the Native Americans and their paganisms, about the people from the deepest, darkest parts of the continents of Africa, or those in the jungles of South America, and all those people in the Middle East, or the Eastern, the Asian countries and stuff, and their paganism. Before you do, clean your house up. Because I tell you right now, see, a lot of you who's got all this going on, I'm going to be raptured out. No, you ain't. Not with that, you ain't. You're holy and supposed to be separated and sanctified and set apart. But what you've done was compromise, and you incorporated, like the Israelites did. You brought it in and handed it on a dinner plate and stuff, and, you know, like a sacrifice to God. Here you go, God. No wonder God don't listen to you. Yeah. I know what I said might sound harsh. You might say that's my opinion. But I can tell you right now, this right here speaks against what you're doing, and speaks against the excuse making. So what are you going to do? Think about it. I give you a little thought, and it's for you to think about. This is not about sitting there trying to start something with you, starting a debate, a fight. Either you can believe it, agree with it, or not. But in one thing, you've been told. You have been told, and you will remember it. Especially when you stand before God and you're judged. Everything that you had been told about on the truth of all this other stuff, you know, it's going to come up. And this, my friends, is going to condemn. Now, you seen where I've been kind of going here so far. Alright? But I'm just kind of breaking in here just for a moment. And I'm going to do a little smack in the face to you, okay? Kind of like when you see a hysterical person going out of control, and you see someone going over, smack them in the face, you know, pow, you know, just to snap them out, to wake them up. Well, this is what I'm going to try to do with you. The images I am showing you is what churches or churches are allowing members to do, or the church leaders themselves are allowing into the church. And these are things that they're all guilty of. There's different forms and different parts. And some of them has incorporated these things. And, you know, I can tell you right now, okay, we have everything from Ishtar to animal spirit guides to the innocent Christmas, that is the Santa Claus, the elves, and the Asherah pole. Oh, excuse me. They has many other names, but one of them would be Asherah poles or maypole, but you also call them Christmas trees. And they also have other different names for it, but it all comes out to the same thing. The different forms of these other names, you know, you have the different forms of the Celtic religion, paganism, the Druids and things, and the L's. We got to point out some things there, but I know this is going to be lengthy, so it's going to be in parts here. So, but bear with me, okay? If you don't like it, I mean, you sit there and you listened so far. Before you make a judgment, I'm asking you to finish everything before you draw your conclusion. Then you can draw your conclusion, because the big mistake most people make is when someone goes to start talking, and as soon as a person, before they can even get finished, all right, a person will draw their conclusion because they don't like what's already been said, and they don't want to hear the rest of it, and they make a prejudgment which can be deceiving. I mean, that's why we're supposed to use righteous judgment, not to just go by appearances or our own personal perception, because see, that's deceiving. A lot of times we get angry at people for what they're saying, and we don't listen to the whole thing because we're not even for sure what they're saying. You draw a conclusion beforehand and find out that your conclusion was